from Amvest Capital in New York. Welcome to the Regency Silver webinar. Regency Silver Corp trades on the TSX-V as RSMX and as RSMXF on the OTCQB. Hope you'll enjoy today's program. It'll be available in on-demand replay about 2 hours after we wrap up here. What's really important is your great questions that you might send in. So please think about sending in questions. All you need to do is go to the Ask a Question of Management thing there, type it in and send it. Only we send it. If you like what you see here, you can share it with others in real time. It'll create a link and an email for various social media and emails. And the link that you used to join originally will work for the on-demand replay as well. And you can always get it, a copy of it at our website, amvestcapital.com, in the webinar section. Amvest, New York-based specialist investment management corporate finance firm based in the natural resource space. Please read this disclaimer quite carefully. This call is most definitely for informational purposes only. Have with us today the Executive Chairman and Director, Bruce Ragagnolo, and the President and CEO, Heish Groenewegen. So thank you all for being here, and take us through the story, and then we'll come back in the Q&A.
Thanks, Campbell. Thanks, everybody, for attending today. We're coming to you live from Toronto and New York. I'm in Toronto, and Hess is in New York. And if you do hear a little bit of background noise, there's a couple of other offices here. We're in a boardroom right now. So please bear with us. You've seen our recent news on Regency Silver. We have continued to exhibit success in our drill program, which is ongoing. And hole 2314 hit 29.4 meters of 6.32 grams per ton gold, which is further evidence that we're sitting right on top of a large gold, copper, silver system. And we maintain that first piece of core on the cover because it's good luck. That's the first piece of core we saw that gave us evidence of the potential of the Dios Padre property in Mexico. There's our usual disclaimer, so please read that at your leisure. It'll be up on the website afterwards. So we have an experienced board. I've had plenty of experience in Mexico. Hess, our CEO and director, has been managing a silver fund for a number of years. Lots of experience in New York with the public markets. Mike Thompson is an expert in going public transactions. And Mike Tucker is in charge of the work programs at Dios Padre and has done an excellent job managing the drills and trying to give us our best bang for the buck, as well as getting an overall geological model for this exciting discovery. So that's the listing of Timmins Gold on the New York Stock Exchange in February of 2012. I have experience in Mexico in every facet of a public company, including operations. That's the 24,000 ton per day crushing circuit at the Timmins Gold San Francisco mine in northern Sonora, as well as I was with Continuum Resources as a director when it acquired the San Jose mine, and we eventually merged Continuum with Fortuna Silver in 2004. And also we sold Silvermex to First Majestic in 2012. So I've had a lot of experience in country. Mexico is a great country. You've heard probably some news about a proposed new mining law. The general attitude towards that is let's wait and see what really comes out of that because the current president has certainly got his own agenda, and we'll see what happens in the future with that law. So where are we? We're in eastern Sonora, Mexico. Mexico is characterized by excellent infrastructure for mining. There's a two-lane paved highway that goes to within 20 kilometers of the site. there's a small town called Santa Rosa, about 10 kilometers from site, and that's where everybody stays during the drill program. We've rented a number of houses in the town. Great place to work. We've got all the infrastructure that we need, and Hermosillo is the supply place for most of the supplies that we need, and that's where the assay lab is as well. So we continue to drill. You can see that there are other mines in the area. We're drilling into a very prolific area. Alamos Gold's Mulatos mine is very close. It's only 40 kilometers away. The Dolores Silver mine, it's an open pit mine, is only 80 kilometers away. And the Agnico Eagle La India open pit and the Pinos Altos pit and underground are within 75 kilometers. So very prolific area. It's underexplored. There's some big geological features here that are very exciting. And we feel that we're right in the heart of the mineralization in this district. So here's our discovery hole from 2022. We haven't had a chance yet. We're moving so quickly. We haven't had a chance to get a new slide up yet, but we'll get that produced. But what this shows, and I kind of like this slide because it first shows how we came to our current discovery. And please bear with me if I'm repeating myself or anybody who's seen previous webinars, but this is more for newer people coming on to look at the project. The Dios Padre silver mine is a well-known historic mine. It's been mined since Jesuit days. That mine is significant because that mine has 60 feet high old chambers and workings. When we drilled it, we got some very good grades. It was optioned in the past by First Majestic, by Silver Standard. They hit 3 kilo widths of silver, over 1.9 meters. Those are, they hit a few in the kilo range. This is a very good grade for a silver mine. Who knows what they were taking out of it because the records in the old days weren't like they are today. But we've drilled it. We've hit some good intercepts over here. But the main focus for us now is what we saw when we looked at the slope of the mineralization. When the dip of mineralization comes visible to us on the Leapfrog software, you can see underneath this old IP anomaly, which was present and was found by a previous operator, an option holder, you can see that right underneath that IP anomaly is where the silver mineralization extends, and we hit it exactly where we thought we would, at about 400 meters below surface. And that's the discovery area that we're drilling into right now. We're going to be focusing on that area for the foreseeable future. So what's our model? Our model is this is a porphyry. We have different events that have occurred. We have a gold event. We have a copper event. You want to see these different events because they're indication of a porphyry, or at least a high sulfidation system. Some of the brecciation is quite pronounced. We can see fairly quickly when we're into the breccia because you get the host rock, which is interspersed with breccia, and that's where the gold, the gold is contained in pyrite, chalcopyrite, and specularite. So I would say we're probably a little higher up in the system based on our more recent drilling. So we've got a lot of drilling to do and a lot of exploration ahead of us, but it's backed by evidence of a big system. These are good widths and good grades, and that's what we were so excited about. When you hit something on your first hole, you're probably into something that's got some size to it. So this is hole Regency 2201, 4.7 grams of gold, 0.67 copper, and 23 grams of silver over 53.8 meters, which includes a high-grade zone of 36 meters of 6.84 grams per ton gold, 0.88% copper, and 21.8 grams per ton of silver. That is a beautiful looking box of core. For those of you who haven't seen core before, you don't get to see that type of brecciation, that type of coloration inside a core box for the most part. That's a very good looking intercept. So if you look at hole 2314, we hit the same mineralization. Breccia with pyrite crystals, had a little less gold. We had 29.4 meters of 6.32 grams per ton of gold. That would be a discovery hole in anybody's books. Then in hole 2315, we hit something a little different, but you want to see different, remember, because different means different events. Think of a piece of steel cable with all these steel threads running through it. So these are different threads running through the overall rock formation, and where you find the threads with gold in them, we're going to have good grades. Where you find the threads with the copper will have good copper grades. So the pyrite and chalcopyrite will probably be good copper. The specularite, we're still trying to find out what the relationship is, but we're going to have these threads weaving their way through the fabric of the rock. So it's very exciting to see the core coming up, because we seem to have found the level where most of the gold and copper is found. So it's quite exciting for us. So we did put out with our last news release, we put out some of these figures. We did run IP as well over the course of the last 3 months, and this is what the IP shows us. But I'll get to the diagram on the left first. The diagram on the left shows us that we've got extensive mineralization over a big area. We have a copper zone. 2313, unfortunately, did not go through the main system. We're trying to figure that one out because it's so close. But once again, it could be because the threads didn't quite thread their way through. But then we hit 2314. 2314 shows us that there is a big zone of copper. We hit 128 meters of 0.11 copper. Included in that is a higher grade zone. There's about 32 meters of 0.4 copper. And then we hit the gold zone, 30 meters of 6.3 grams underneath it. So what it looks like is we're hitting a porphyry type of rock above the copper zone. Then we get into the gold zone. So we're hitting every hole. It's just a question of how much gold, how much copper we're finding in each of these holes. So this is if you look to the right-hand side, the diagram that's in purple, you can see the old silver mine, and the silver mine is to the bottom of the picture on top. We did extend the silver mine a bit to the east and west, but this kind of a T-looking figure you can see, that's where we're drilling now. We're drilling on each drill pad. We drill 3 holes 50 meters apart. So we get 100 meters of gap in between the 3 holes from start to finish, and we're drilling on a fence. So we're going up the hill to the east, and our next fence should be down the hill to towards the old mill site. And you can see them here in the picture in the bottom. They're finishing off at about the same depth. They seem to break through the gold copper zone, and then they get into an area underneath that doesn't contain mineralization. So the IP was successful in showing us what's down to about 450 meters true vertical depth. It does show, which is very important, that the IP anomaly extends over to the silver mine, so that's a much stronger anomaly at depth than we were seeing higher up. Could you get my charger, please? So that's working. So the IP looked good. We still have to run more tests on the IP to see how it's all working out. But overall, we're in the IP did show us that we have a 900 meter by 1,000 meter wide zone of strongly chargeable rock. So that's all very good. Now here's our cap table and stock chart. The chart did fall off a little bit, but we'll build that back up as we go. and we have 83 million shares out currently. We have raised $2.5 million Canadian on our last raise at 40 cents. And we had 500,000 broker warrants exercised. So we have funding for our ongoing program, and we'll be continuing to drill for the foreseeable future. So everything's good. Everything's good on site. We have a great work team on site, and we're just continuing to drill. Any other comments, Guy? Hess, you want to chime in there?
No, I'm fine. You covered everything.
Okay.
Very good. That was a very quick presentation. So,
yeah,
we'll take it to the.
It's a very straightforward story. We're having a lot of success drilling into a big system that has the potential for a very large porphyry. So,
to clarify, so you've got on one side you've got your historic silver mine asset, and that could be something in and of itself, correct? And that's what it was your focus when you originally started. And then you since went and found something that looks like a copper, gold, copper, silver, whole other system that's nearby. Is that the way to frame this?
That's right. The silver mine looks like it's the top of the system, but it's fed from below. So the silver mine looks like it cooled at a different temperature. And underneath that, we have the copper gold zone. When we first acquired the property and we looked at the old IP data, there was something there that was not coincident with the silver mine. It looked like there was something different happening in the gold copper zone because the anomaly is different. The old IP anomaly was much different. So it just gave us a good feeling that there was something underneath the IP anomaly. So now, some of the importance of the IP is that in a potential mining situation, it puts this entire zone into play. So there's something displacing the mineralization as you go towards a silver mine, but the IP clearly shows that there's a strongly chargeable anomaly that extends all the way from the current discovery zone here over to the silver mine. So that's very encouraging as well.
And then how big is your overall land package, and could there be more surprises around Dios Padre?
Well, we've acquired an option on a 5,600 hectare land package around Dios Padre as well. So that takes us up to about 6,500 hectares. So that's very encouraging for our regional exploration. We feel that there could be multiple of these in the district. So we've acquired an option over the entire district.
Your recent drill results, I thought they were pretty good. You thought they were pretty good. Maybe take us through your take on that last press release.
Yeah, it looks like there was a coordinated effort on the sell side. Telegraphing when our news is coming out is probably not the best idea in the future. So we're not going to be doing that anymore. We don't intend to tell anybody that our news is coming because it does give certain elements a chance to coordinate an effort against you. So we're just going to keep the drills turning, keep the news coming. We're going to just get our good news out to the market when we're ready to put it out.
Sure. Just tell us about the drill results, though. That would be interesting.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've hit so far on 3 out of 4 holes, and I think anybody would be very happy with our drill results to date. We hit a hole that shows us that this is not the typical deposit in Mexico. Usually you get narrow, high-grade areas in Mexico. You don't get this type of a deposit just sitting in isolation or as a small deposit. This is a very wide, high-grade structure that we've drilled into. And even hole 2315, it does have significant mineralization in it. It's the lesser one of our holes, but we got 32.5 meters of 2.23 grams of gold. And we got 128 meters of 0.84 grams of gold. That's an excellent intersection. And look at the size of it, 128 meters. I mean, 32 meters is 9 stories. 128 meters. At some point here, we're going to start drilling into the source of this mineralization. This is still early days for this project. When we when we can zero in on the core of this project, then we're going to start getting some even better results, because then we'll be in the heart of it. We're just hitting those little zones that are the wires in the cable right now.
Maybe talk a little bit about, I'm just going to put you on this slide, your location, and what that you think you're uncovering, what does it look like on some of these? Is there any comp or equivalents that we can look to that might be typical of the area, but well understood, that you might have stumbled onto?
Yeah, we tried to find a comp, and we can't find any. I really don't know of any comparable projects in Mexico that look like they have the potential of this one. We've been very fortunate. We've been very fortunate in many ways. We've had some very supportive brokers, shareholders. Hess has done an excellent job with a group out of London that's been very supportive of our efforts. We've met a lot of very good people. We have support from the people that took part in our last financings. You guys have been great. We're building the story here, and we're building it by the drill bit. And I think that's what everybody wants to see. They want to see a solid effort from management to both get the drills turning. We're able to finance them in markets that haven't been, perhaps as good as they could be. But don't worry, everybody, it's coming. So we have we've had a lot of support from people. And things are going well on the ground. We've had support on the ground. The local community is very supportive. It's good to be where we are. We're going to keep drilling, and we're going to keep putting results out to the market as we get them. And they're going to evidence that we've got something really good here, as we have evidenced already.
How do you plan to pay for this? Many ways to do it. You could JV, you could just raise as you go along. What's your plan? And how much is it going to cost to we can all say, okay, there's really something there. 20 million? What's the price tag to understanding this?
Well, we've bandied around some numbers, and certainly for a 60,000 meter drill program, you're talking in the realm of $20 million US. So, but there is money available for good projects. We're still early. As I said, we've had some very good support for our 20-cent financing in December, for our IPO last year at this time. We did a 25-cent IPO a year ago with no warrants. We did a 20-cent financing after we put out our news about the discovery hole. We did that in December. And in April, we closed off a 40-cent financing for $2.5 million, and we got some broker warrants exercised. So that drill is going to turn for the immediate future. And as we get results, we'll be out raising money as we go. We've only got 83 million shares out right now, and we have very few warrants. We've managed to do all of our financings without warrants. We don't have that overhang on the market. So we're going to do whatever we have to do to advance the project. There's many ways to do it. I'm very familiar with all of them. There's joint ventures. There's straight equity financings, but we don't plan to build the mine. So that's one thing we do not plan to do, because that does take a bit of capital. Exploration capital is actually relatively straightforward compared to development capital. Our goal is to maximize shareholder value. We're in this. We're aligned with our shareholders. We're in this for a big win for our shareholders.
Very good. Do you own the asset outright? Do you have any payment? A lot of companies that have payment schedules and all fancy deals. And are there any royalties on the asset?
Yeah, we've been through the payment process. We own the asset 100%. We do have option payments to make on the surrounding ground, but that's only an option if we find something there. We will have payments in the future on that, but they're not onerous. And we do have an NSR on the project. We can buy 2.5% of the NSR for $1.5 million, leaving a 0.5 NSR. So that can be renegotiated as well. The owner has, the former owner has been very cooperative with that type of negotiation.
Bruce, let me dig a little deeper into your background, and I'll ask that of Haitius as well.
Sure, we got a board of lawyers. I'm a former practicing securities lawyer in Vancouver, and I quit practicing law full time in 2007 to become the CEO of Timmins Gold. I founded the company, but we had to. I found that I had to become the CEO to manage the project, and we took that from a $7 million IPO, $7 million market cap IPO, to a $450 million market cap. So it took time, but it does happen, and also became the CEO of Silvermex, and we managed to sell that eventually. So lots of experience with the legal system as far as securities goes. With Timmins Gold, pounded a lot of pavement, met a lot of very nice people in the mining sector, and maintain contact with them still. So a lot of people still take my calls when I call, and they're I think there's more to be done in this district as well. It's a big district, and it's very exciting, and there's a lot happening geologically in this district. You see outcropping in a lot of different areas. So we got to focus on Dios Padre while slowly working our way out from there.
Raj?
Yeah, my education is mainly, although I'm also a lawyer by education, I have 2 law degrees from Leiden University, Amsterdam University, but I've been mainly in finance, worked for Barings, set up our own stockbroking firm called the Europe Company in London that we sold to Jefferies in New York. I have done the Gold Arrow Fund with Carl Tigerson, which had $50 million under management. And in 2017, I joined Bruce for Regency Silver, and I've been able to raise some money, as Bruce alluded to, through my network in London and in other places.
Okay. Are you always on the lookout for other assets to acquire, or are you really going to stay focused on Dios Padre and the surrounding area?
Well, some things are too good to pass up. That whole Toyotita district where First Majestic has set the San Dimas mine is a great looking district. We've been down there and looked around. They're bringing a road in to that whole area. Once the road goes in, it's going to open up quite nicely. So we have acquired the El Tablon project down there at 7,000 hectares. And we want to eventually start doing some work there. And there's also some other claims to the west of El Tablon that are that look really nice. They're getting very good grades of silver there. They're actually mining in a small vein some 20 kilos of silver and just bagging it and selling it direct. So it's a very good area. That will be another really good district in Mexico. Mexico's a great country to work in. It's underexplored, definitely underexplored, and you get a lot of bang for your buck down there. So it's to me, it's a great place to work. I believe that this new district is going to be the next big silver district of Mexico.
Can you tell us a little bit about your technical team and your geologists, and who's deciding where to drill and who's looking at the core samples? Yep.
Well, Mike Tucker is in charge of the overall project. He sites the drills. He decides where they go. He's had a lot of experience with drill programs in the past. He used to work for Balmoral as their VPX. So he's used to big discoveries. And then we also have a very senior Mexican geologist on site. We gave the guys Sundays off, or last Sunday off, because they get 1 day off every 3 months. I'm just joking, but they're working very hard. If we bring in another drill, we'll have to get another team in there, but they're very well supervised. They're a very good team overall, and the drilling is going very well. The drills are going where they're supposed to go. They're not deviating except for just one hole, which deviated a bit, but that does happen sometimes. And the site has been nicely cleaned up. The site looks great. And the local workforce is very well trained, because there have been other explorers working in this district that have trained them in the past, and we're keeping them busy. Our social contract is very important to us down there. We are always trying to be a good corporate citizen. We're always trying to be considerate and respectful of the locals, because there's somebody that lives everywhere in Mexico. You do need to have a local workforce if possible. So it's been a very mutually beneficial relationship for all of us.
Very good. Talking blue sky, someone was imagining, the full upside. Would it be accurate to say the 5 million ounce high grade gold deposit you have on your hands? Is that what is that the big game, the big bet?
Well, we mentioned that in the past.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed to make us feel that there's any less potential here than there was before. We're clicking on all cylinders here. It might be, it looks like there is a little more variation in the drill holes than we had originally anticipated, but we're just on the outside of the main zone. So we just need to find the main zone, and then we'll be able to get a much better picture of the scope of this project. Right now, we're still early days. I'm not going to say that we don't have that potential, but what I will say is that certainly there's potential for big size here, and all of the drill holes that we've drilled to date are showing us a lot of evidence of mineralization. So there's something feeding this. We've just got to get to it.
How deep do you have to go here?
They have to go down to 1,000 meters vertical. These types of deposits can often go to 1,000 meters, but the difference is we're hitting it starting at about 250 meters in some holes. So we're hitting good mineralization up in the top part of a system. So we just have to figure out exactly where the system is fed from. But we don't really have to figure that out, because we could keep drilling off into these fingers and still get a very good resource.
Geologically, what could you discover that makes all this sort of come up short? So going the other way, could it be just that there were some anomalies, or it just it's not a system in the end, but what could disappoint everyone that you'd find out later?
Yeah, I don't know. We've had some discussions about that internally. So I don't think it's an enrichment zone because the rock is too hard. You'd get an enrichment zone at the top of a system. You'd get a supergene enrichment at the top of a system where it's leached due to oxidation or weathering. So this is in situ mineralization. It might have been tilted or lifted by plate tectonics or by faults, but certainly this looks like it's got some size to it. That is our thesis, and we're sticking with it.
Very good. Let's focus back on deliverables for the next 12, 18 months. What if we're looking at the stock, what should we be following?
Just following the drilling. The drill is going to, the drill is going to show what we've got here. So just need to follow that. Just follow our news, and we're not going to telegraph when the news is coming out anymore. None of that.
But could we want to assume that on a reasonable, regular basis, news will come out with drill results over as long as the drills are turning?
That's right.
Very good. Question: would you plan to eventually come out with an updated 43-101, or well, you did, but I guess one on the new system?
Well, that's the plan eventually. We'll be running internal models as we go. We're not doing any more work over at the historical Dios Padre silver mine. But as we go, every single hole gets put into Leapfrog software. And at some point, we'll be putting it all together to develop an internal resource. And then that'll help guide us to where we can get an external resource, something that we could publish. But it's going to take some time for that.
So maybe we need another name for the new system, or are we
should we have a contest?
Call the whole thing Dios Padre, or
what about Regency Metals? Regency Gold, Regency Metals. What's the consensus? Could you take a poll there, please?
It's just interesting. So, but at some point, it's just going to be a total. It's not the old mine, right?
No, it's not. The silver is not the main focus here. It's the gold, copper. Yeah.
No, but I mean a new name of the new system to the right on this page.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm not a big fan of naming different zones. It gets confusing. If I get confused about all these different zones, then I don't know. So I think the Dios Padre. We did ask our Mexican team, who are very well qualified Mexican team, by the way. We did ask them what name would be suitable, and they said Dios Padre is the best name they could think of. So we're just going to keep it at Dios Padre. Okay.
And the zone off to the side.
It's all part of the same system. Look at that IP. It's all part of the same system.
Yeah. Good. How did the previous owners kind of miss all this? What did you have going for you differently?
Well, I think the biggest thing was I'm a big stickler for having a resource estimate if you've got enough information for it. So if you look at the information that we gathered from the old silver mine, we ran it through better software. I think that's the best thing I could possibly say. Leapfrog software really shows you, it really identifies the zones of mineralization. It gives you a block model, essentially. So when you see the zones of mineralization, they're running at a 45-degree dip to the north. So you got an IP anomaly here, which is clearly different. It's clearly more chargeable than the silver mine. Put a hole right down through the middle of it. You might pick up something in the anomaly itself, and then we had to go to a depth that would meet up with the 45-degree dip of the silver mineralization over at Dios Padre. And that's right where it was. So I don't know. They missed that, I guess.
Exciting. So everyone loves, or lots of people, certain people, interesting people love high drill bit stories, and this is a great one for that category. And it's where fortunes are made. So thank you, gentlemen, and maybe a closing statement from both Bruce and Haish would be in order, and we'll pick it up again later.
If I can start, what Bruce said also during this webinar, the main thing I was looking at and why I found it so interesting was the width of the silver grades, of the silver. And we see that width also coming back in the gold. And as Bruce said, there has to be a very strong feeder system in order to get gold width of 30 to 60, 36 meters at 6 to 6.5 grams of gold. And it was the same with the silver. We had very nice width of 28 to 30 meters and very, very high grades. You only get that when there's a feeder system that's very rich and very strong. That's what I would like to add.
Yeah, what Hess is referring to are the intercepts that you can see on page 20 of the presentation. Hole FMR 1206, 32.5 meters of 408 grams with 1.9 meters of 3.2 kilos. FMR 1506 with 28.8 meters of 467 grams. These are good grades and good widths. 5.2 meters of a kilo of silver. Those are widths you don't find normally in Mexico. You find maybe 500 grams over a meter or 2 meters. So that was very very appealing. It showed us that there's something feeding this for sure.
Excellent.
So in closing, I would just like to thank all of the shareholders that have phoned in over the last week to express their support for what we're doing. And I would like to thank everybody for their kind support. We put out news. We're going to put out more news, and we're going to keep putting out news. And it's going. Sometimes it'll be better than others, but overall, we've been hitting on our holes, and we announced that along with the 3 holes that we had assays for. But it's been a great drill program so far. And we hope to continue it and develop a big resource here. That's the entire plan.
Excellent. For those of you who like the story or shareholders, do tell your friends and share this webinar, and let's get the word out there. And of course, anyone who would like a one-on-one, probably most practically a Zoom, although if you are in New York tomorrow or Vancouver, we can always arrange meetings and in person, but Bruce and Haish are only an email or a phone call away. Thank you very much, and I think this is definitely a story that is going to be a lot of news this year. So thank you very much.
Thanks,
Camel. Thanks, everybody.